Here's the basic premise of this video. What I really want to say out loud, I hope it translates when I say it, but is that in America, if you have an Italian last name, or you or are actually of some kind of Italian background, that makes you more exotic as, quote, a white person. Now, right when I said that, I know a lot of people overseas are like, wow, this guy's racist. But see, this is part of American culture. We openly talk about race and ethnicity. It's something we are fascinated by. So those of us who grew up in America, we're fascinated by it. And especially people who are white are more likely to go up to somebody and even ask them. There was someone I know, and he's of Asian descent, and he said, you know, people around here, he moved here when he was 2, he said, but white people come up to me all the time and they tell me what they think that I am, like it's some kind of guessing game. He's like, I'm proud to tell you what I actually am, but people want to make a guessing game out of it. You know, and maybe to a fault, that is our culture. But I think as I make these videos, I'm understanding more about American culture, and that our fascination about other people's ethnic background could come across as racist. So I want to go ahead and acknowledge that, and we're just going to have to chalk it up as a cultural shock there. That's how so many Americans are, and that's how they think. But to really focus on this, though, that as when you have a room full of white people, the person who is of Italian descent, and especially if you've got some kind of Italian last name, you know, like DiMaggio or something like that, you're already more exotic and more of a Yankee probably, or at least West Coast if you have that name and you have any of those traits at all. And it's funny because I think America has had a history of being confused on what they believe white is, and I think they still do. But I understand that at one time Italian Americans were seen as basically a different race. Now, to be fair though, I think there is some truth in that. Something we've regularly talked about on this channel is how people who take the DNA test knowing that they have Italian background, a lot of times if you're Italian, you're also going to show up as Spanish, you're also going to show up as Greek, you're also going to show up as Middle Eastern, and you're also going to show up as Jewish, which definitely absolutely was the case on all accounts for me. So to be fair, well, let me break down what I just said though. Were any of those things a different race? No. Greek is not. Greek is still white. Jewish is still white. Middle Eastern is still white. You know, Spanish is still white. But it's that Southern European mix. Even that alone, I think, is enough for mainstream Americans to say, oh yeah, the Italian guy. And he may be completely out of touch with his roots altogether as far as being Italian. But if he's a white guy and he has an Italian last name, or girl, obviously, if the person has an Italian last name and they have any of the features at all, then comparatively speaking, people are going to notice that as, oh, what is that? Is that Italian, Portuguese? What is that? That's how Americans tend to do. Whereas if your other backgrounds in Europe, it's not as exotic. If you've got an MAC or MC in your last name, okay, that's normal around here in America, right? Or a TON at the end, you know, Irish, Scottish, people think, but yeah, these last names that end with a vowel, like O, like my mother's maiden name was Metella, which was the Italian name, you know, and that to Americans is more exotic. So I just wanted to share that concept. And again, disclaimer, the way I speak as an American may come across as racist, but instead it's just a cultural American thing. And if you have subscribed to my channel and you're not American, go ahead and get used to that, because we're going to be examining these things. And this is my way of appreciating and even celebrating people of all ethnic backgrounds. I'm all about this kaleidoscope. I love to celebrate it and embrace it. And I think it's important. I think especially here in America, being the melting pot we are, we haven't really had a platform and a space to talk about these things from just a curious point of view. And that's what I'm trying to do here with this channel. So if you've got any comments or thoughts on that, I'd love to hear them. Write in the comments. You never know, I may actually turn your comment into its own video, because hey, This is fascinating stuff.